toward an old neighborhood and a friend of your family. How do you spring to mind when you saw this news clip?
I would be surprised and feel betrayed.
You will feel surprised,
Yeah,
betrayed. He was betrayed.
I thought it was a nice person if he did something this bad.
Okay.
I feel betrayed.
And the next question?
Why do you think after you learned that he had committed such a crime?
What would you think of him?
I won't hate him because he is my friend, maybe, or I don't know, but I won't hang out with him much after this.
Okay, you still be friends with him.
Yeah, but not hang out a lot.
Oh, but not hang out a lot. Thank you very much. Give them a big hand. Thank you. And the second question will be number 11. Please ask the question. Number 11, please stand up. And number 13 will be answering the question. 13. Who is that? 13.
Would you still be friends with Joe after he finished serving his sentence? Why or why not?
13.
No.
Why?
Because
He's no longer your friend. Why?
he's
He's what?
He's dead.
Because he done bad things. So he or she's no longer your friend. Okay, give them a big hand. Thank you. So someone has committed a crime and then sent into prison. But, however, we go back to the reading. I want to use my pen, but just give me a minute. Listen to the
Unit
reading
4,
dialogue.
The Journey Ahead. Read about it.
I was 25 when I was arrested for stealing a loaf of bread to feed my starving family. For that minor criminal offense, I spent 19 years in jail. When I was freed from prison, I was a bitter man. I walked for miles, trying to find somewhere to rest. By the time I reached Dean, the sun had already set and I was hungry and exhausted. Then I headed for an inn, seeking accommodations for the night. Looking me up and down with doubt and suspicion, the owner of the inn sent a boy to the police station to inquire about me. When the boy returned, he submitted a brief report to the owner. Glancing through the note, the owner learned that my name was Jean Valjean and that I was an ex-convict. As a result, he refused to let me stay there. Later, I departed the inn in humiliation. I could sense that hostile feelings toward me were aroused and that my arrival would soon become the talk of the town. Just as I had expected, everyone in Dean knew that I was released on parole. Consequently, no one was willing to reach out to me, and even a glass of water was too much for me to ask for. Cold and starving, I was left shivering in the dark. Wandering along the streets, I stopped near a bishop's palace. Fortunately, the bishop saw me. He took pity on me and welcomed me warmly. Even after he knew my true identity, this man didn't drive me out of his house as most others had done. Instead, he invited me to stay and dine with him. That night, though I was lucky enough to sleep in a bed for the first time in 19 years, I couldn't fall asleep. I kept thinking about the precious silverware on the bishop's dining table. If it had not been for his invitation out of kindness and courtesy, I wouldn't have had a temporary shelter. Yet, disturbed by the thought of how unfairly I had been treated over the past years, with only a slight hesitation, I got up, stole the silverware, and slipped away. However, I didn't get far. By the time it was dawn, the police had caught me and taken me back to the bishop. "I'm so delighted to see you again," the bishop said to me before I could speak. "You forgot to take the candlesticks." With my eyes nearly popping out of my head, I was stunned by his words. The bishop had not only shown mercy to me, but also given his only belongings of value to me. After the police left, the bishop told me, "Everyone deserves a second chance. Promise me that you will use this silver to become an honest man." He continued solemnly, "Jean Valjean, my brother, you no longer belong to evil, but to good. It's your soul that I'm buying for you, and I give it to God." I soon left the bishop's house with my thoughts staying on my dark days in prison and on my wasted life. Filled with anger and gloom, I stamped around the countryside. As I sank into my misery, however, the bishop's words flashed through my mind. All at once, my thoughts of past events were somehow dismissed. The bishop's love and forgiveness had cast out my hatred for the world. From that moment on, I was truly free. I, Jean Valjean, became a changed man and never committed another crime.
So this is a very touching story, right? So, John was a convict. After he came out from prison, he will become an ex-convict. Then he will later, I believe that after the bishop had done for him, he will become a rehabilitated person. So there are some organizations in Taiwan that I would like to share. Because this is a Chinese website, but this is called Taiwan 更生人保护会. So Chinese. But there are some case stories I would like to share. Not many stories, but there are some, particularly one. I'll not try to read it in Chinese, but you can see. Someone is his father was a doctor, was an examiner from a doctor. He was living with his grandparents. When he was 18 years old, because his friends were taking drugs, so he will have the feeling that it is nothing for it is no big deal for taking drugs. So he started taking drugs. After he was after a birthday party, so the police came and took him. However, he continually took drugs, and his mother, everyone gave up on him, but never his mother. So after he had a parole, he came out of prison. He tried to find help. So in this organization, so he supported him by giving him a little money. He had learned the skills of making coffee. So he opened a small coffee shop. But try to imagine if you knew this boss was an ex-convict. Will you go to his coffee shop and buy a cup of coffee? If the person, yes, please raise your hand. Yes? Okay. If it no, please raise your hand. You will not go to his coffee shop and buy coffee. Okay. Please. So there's no right or wrong answer. But I think that everyone deserves a second chance. Just like in the story. Just try to imagine that you are John. You are John. And you just came out of prison. Your heart is full of hatred. If no one tried to help him, I believe that he will become a convict again. Maybe he will commit another crime. But someone showed up and gave him what he needed. Maybe food or place to stay for a night, and something happened, so it will change his whole life, just like him. He became the owner of a coffee shop and trying to earn his living as to serve customers coffee. So this is a case for rehabilitated person. Okay. So let's move back to today's key point. Today we will be learning how to express personal point of view. This is very important because people always ask questions. Do you like something? Do you not like something? But when you try to make comments, you want to say something, probably say yes or no. But before that, there are some useful sentences that you can use to make your speech or make your word more positive. So what are they? Later, I will give you the hangout. But first, let us read it together. The first one will be to express personal opinions with positive attitude. Say something that make people think that is very positive. Repeat after me. As for me, I would say that. I believe. I think. I find. I suppose that. Very good. In my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, it seems to me that. When you say this sentence, try to say it with feelings. Will you give your friend a second chance? In my opinion. Okay. The next one is I'm sure that. I'm convinced that. It seems to me that. From where I stand. If you ask me.